Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Kek back here with another Animal Jam video, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about a question a lot of people have actually been asking recently in the community, and that is why the Animal Jam Jamaaliday Gift Calendar is no longer in the game. Before I do get into that, though, I want to quickly talk about today's giveaway, which is for this blue headdress. As always, all you got to do is make sure to leave a like on the video, drop a comment down below letting me know what you thought of it after you finished it, your username and status, and subscribe with notifications on. Extra entries can be found in the description below, and the giveaway does end at 30k. So if you didn't know, there used to be a advent calendar system in Animal Jam where you'd log in, you'd get a gift every day throughout December, and they had this since the very first Jamaalidays up until last year, where it ended up getting replaced by this gift stand here, where you open it up and you can pretty much buy the item instead. And it's one version, one non-member, and one version that is membered but has variants to it, which is very different to the system they had before. Now, this was the first time they added this was last year, and this year's kind of the same story. They just returned it again. But a lot of people were kind of perplexed on why did they even change it in the first place, because it feels like it's kind of regressing backwards to add something like this in comparison to something like the Jamaaliday Gift Calendar. So I figured I'd take today's video to talk about it because, well, this is something I think I've referenced in a few videos before, specifically in my video about which Jamaaliday items last year. I don't think I went too in depth in the video, at least, so I figured I'd talk about it more here. There's two specific reasons I think are largely contributed why Animal Jam got rid of the calendar entirely, so let's go over them. So first of all, the calendar was broken. I don't think a lot of people realize that. The calendar was fundamentally broken. It was programmed incorrectly into the game since its introduction all the way back in 2010, 2011, I think, where if you got a gift and you opened it, it would only give out 7 variants for clothing items. The 8th variant was pretty much programmed in a way that it wouldn't distribute it out, meaning there's no way to get the 8th variant. That's why items like black socks, red icicle horns, the magenta gingerbread top hat, all these kind of items were extremely rare back in the day when they first started kind of seeping their ways into the game, because the calendar just straight up didn't work. And we'll get into how those variants even got into the game with this in mind, that the calendar wasn't working the way it should be. However, it wasn't even just limited to clothing items. I think den items was the worst case of this, where it only legitimately gave out one variant of den items. There were so many Jamaaliday items that were available on the calendar in previous years that had tons of variants to them that never ended up getting released because they were only being given out in one default variant through the calendar because it was also broken. It was more broken with the den items than it was clothing items, ironically enough. Now, a lot of the clothing items that you saw appear on the Jamaaliday Gift Calendar and the old ones, like I'm talking like the variants like black socks and the magenta gingerbread top hat and stuff like that, they ended up getting released one way or another. I think they were slowly drip fed around, you know, through events Animal Jam would do, and then they ended up just straight up releasing a lot of them into stores at some point as well, which there's a big reason on why that is, which kind of funnels us into the next reason. People were abusing it. Were abusing the calendar left and right. So while the programming for the calendar was pretty much broken, as I said, it did not stop hackers from finding a way to exploit it. So as I said, the 8th variant for clothing items anyway weren't distributable pretty much. It didn't give it out to normal players. Using third-party programs, there was a way to pretty much manipulate the game into giving you that 8th variant. So for normal gameplay, it was impossible, but with tinkering with programs, it was possible, funnily enough. And that's how you kind of ended up seeing a bunch of black socks get into the game a couple years ago, like pretty much about 7 years ago, actually, now, which is a very long time ago. And all the other items that I was talking about before as well, kind of getting into the same way. And some of these items didn't get as abused as much as others. I think the worst case of this was with the red horns back in 2017. I think hackers really went to town on those. Not too sure why those ones were in specific, but yeah, in the following years to come, as I said, Animal Jam just kind of started releasing them on their own terms. I think in the following year of the calendar, they ended up swapping the orange socks for the black socks so they could actually give out the black socks normally, but then that kind of created a weird dynamic where orange socks weren't obtainable for that year. Really weird set of circumstances. And then I think in like some events like Jamaalidays in July type of thing, and even just normally during the Jamaaliday seasons from the years following, Animal Jam would just end up just releasing them straight up into stores, which I'm not really opposed against because they should have been released in the first place, even if I had a lot of those unreleased variants. But you know, it's okay. Not the first time Animal Jam has released some of my rare items into the stores. But I think if any of the items I owned actually got released into the stores, definitely those I would rather get released, given given the fact that they should have not been rare in the first place, and the only reason they were rare was because they weren't obtainable under normal circumstances. Now, I've been talking about clothing items, but interestingly enough, when it came to den items for manipulating the calendar in the same way, it just didn't work from what I know. From what I know, it had something to do with IDs being changed when it came to the clothing versions, but when it came to the den items, it just didn't work. I assume that's probably because variants work differently with den item variants in comparison to clothing items, because all of these kind of clothing items here, they have all their unique color ID assigned to them, but when it comes to den items, they're just images, and even the variants are just different color images. At least if I have to assume, that's probably how it works in some kind of way like that. I know in the very first year the calendar was ever manipulated, some items like this were obtainable. That's how the very first poofy rug with a face on it got into the game. I'll put a picture or something on screen. I own one of these. I own a few of these actually, but the very first one that ever got into the game, from what I know, was manipulated through the calendar, which maybe something in the following year of the calendar changed, because Animal Jam would do that for God knows what reasons. Maybe they were trying to fix it and just never ended up being able to and gave up. Well, actually that is what ended up happening, given the fact that we now have this gift stand present all over the game, which I don't think people actually know, but this is actually available throughout the game. You can actually see it right here, even though this is placed really weirdly and does not fit the theme of Lost Temple of Zeus at all, but it's just standing here. Yeah, this is now in the game as a kind of replacement to the gift calendar, but to me personally, when this came out last year, I had mixed feelings on it. I thought it was cool that they were trying something new, but thinking about it more, as I said near the start of the video, it's kind of regressing backwards in terms of what you're giving back to people during the Jamaaliday season. Because if we're comparing this gift stand here, where you have 2 items available, one non-member, one member with variants to it, it's not the same as what the Jamaaliday gift calendar was giving to people and offering to people, where you could pretty much log in every day, get a free gift without having to pay the gems amount, even though it is a very low gem amount. But you wouldn't have to pay anything, and technically you could choose what variant you wanted if you just refreshed your page or refreshed your game before accepting the gift. Not only that, every other day you would get 1 diamonds for logging in and accepting the gifts, and even on some days you'd get masterpiece tokens, which for non-members was a blessing because non-members can't usually make masterpieces on the game. So to that, I just kind of question, why didn't they just make the items in here the same? Just have the non-member have the variants as well, because at least then it wouldn't serve as such a paywall, it seems. And then for, the diamond part of the gift calendar, I wouldn't even really mind if they got rid of that. Diamonds are very obtainable nowadays, okay? Since the very introduction of my shops on the game, this has made diamonds infinitely less valuable, I think, and very more obtainable. So, getting 15 diamonds throughout the whole month isn't really something you're missing out on. But as for the masterpiece tokens, I wouldn't even mind them skipping out on that unless they just did what they did in one of the very first Jamaaliday seasons after the introduction of masterpieces being in the game, where they made it so non-members could just make masterpieces during the season of Jamaalidays. And people were really happy when they did this, and then the following year they kind of got rid of it in place of the masterpiece tokens that they would give out on the calendar, which I'm pretty sure was only 2 days out of the entire month, which it doesn't really matter because people are going to farm those on alt accounts regardless, or did anyway. But when we come into it now, people, they don't even have the choice of if they want to farm those tokens or not, because they're not available this time around in this. And while I don't imagine, even if Animal Jam ends up watching this video this far into the video as well, that they'll suddenly change it, I definitely think it's a food of thought for maybe the next Jamaaliday season where they can improve on this, because right now I think this is just a very, I don't know, it feels like a slap in the face comparison to previous Jamaalidays and how they were done. And while this was their kind of solution to the problem of the calendar being broken, this is also kind of broken. Not broken in the sense because it's just a storefront essentially, they can just change it in and out, but somehow Animal Jam does it again and they somehow mess it up. I had a video last year about some items just straight up not being able to be bought, which is just really stupid, and then they had to make the item available the next day as well, which created this weird kind of storefront page. But that also happened again at the start of this Jamaalidays, where they delayed the update for 5 days to make it release on a Thursday for some reason, and then they had the whole front and second page covered with various items for varying amount of gems, and it just looked like a confusing mess. And well, if they continue this kind of tradition of the gift stand instead of the calendar for next year as well, let's hope they get it right. You know, they actually take these criticisms and kind of put it forward, because I think more people are more vocal about it now, especially because of the whole light up flower rings and stuff being released again into this gift stand, which affected the value of a lot of those that were worth like a short collar or something, which rightfully you would be mad about that, especially if you bought the actual physical toy and redeemed the code for it, which I know some people did. There's various other kind of issues underlying with this, with you know, the whole member variance thing. But I figured I would end off here by saying that specifically about those light up rings, they now do have rare tags on them, the original ones. I think they added that way too late though, because there are definitely people that have traded their originals or just recycled their originals that had the rare tag on them. However, now you can know that there is a difference between the two, and I imagine Alamo Jam will do the same thing for the crystal tree, because this was also previously a promo. This video is probably going to go out on the 14th, so if it isn't in the game yet where it has a rare tag, you know, wait a couple days and they'll probably add it. I don't really know. They're very inconsistent with these things, and they definitely need to get a better track on it. Anyway, that's for sure. But I think that's going to wrap it up here. This is a more in-depth video talking about the calendar and kind of the issues with it and why they removed it. So hopefully this answered some of your guys' questions, because this was a comment I got a bunch of times, and not even just that, you know, people approaching me in game when they saw me being like, you know, I missed the original calendar type of thing, which you know, I'm right there with you. But if you want to see every item in the gift stand that's coming this month, I would recommend checking the video that's going to be on the outro card. But we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Do make sure to subscribe with notifications on if you guys want to be notified on future videos, as well as videos just like this one. Do make sure to leave a like on it if you did enjoy, and do let me know in the comment section below, what did you guys think about this? Which do you rather, the gift calendar or the gift stand? I gotta say the calendar. There's just something so special about the calendar for me that you know, nothing will ever top it. But yeah, with that, we're gonna wrap it up here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.